These days, college students have a lot on their plate, from balancing schoolwork and jobs during a global pandemic to keeping up with a social life. The mental health of college students has declined over the past year. To keep up with current trends of society, material culture, and social media has greatly affected how college students compare themselves to their friends and others around them.
Particularly with this generation who's in college right now, like the Gen Z, and the way that social media in particular has just taken over what we know as society. Like thinking about like what you see on TikTok and who's become famous on TikTok, and like them buying mansions and all these cars that most of them aren't even old enough to drive. It's really become this really interesting game of like competition. What's also cool about this generation though is that there's a lot more insight. So when I do talk to college students, they're very aware that this online world like is, for all intents and purposes, like not real. It's not
Mhm.
like anyone's really authentic experience. So I think people, there's a weird mix of, there is an awareness that like people are calling out that and saying like, oh, that's not realistic expectations, like
Yeah.
be real on the internet, like take off the filters, like do that. But then also there's enough of online world that is still so fake that I feel it's impossible for us not to be comparing ourselves, right? And
Mhm.
so I do think material culture in itself has a very negative impact, but I'm hopeful in this generation that there is that awareness that that impact is happening.
Every day, we get a glimpse into other people's lives through social media. We compare ourselves to the people we see on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or any other social media platform. However, the people we see on there do not usually match who they are in real life. It is easy to make your life look more exciting and put together on social media, but this facade affects the mental health of others who are comparing themselves to their peers. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, there is a lifetime prevalence of any mental disorder among 49.5% of adolescents due to what they see on social media.
College aged individuals are really kind of in the perfect storm for mental health to go wrong. In that, just biologically, mental health disorders and symptoms become more pertinent within that age range of college students. And so you are likely to see an increase in symptoms just because that's when these things typically appear. But you're also going through a huge transitional stage, which is also another area for when mental illnesses tend to increase. And then also you throw on the stress that is in college, and it's just kind of everything at once. Um, Really does kind of create the perfect environment for mental illness to come about. But then also I do think like with social media, that's added a whole, I think particularly with college age students, social media is, the most, a huge part of their life. And that's kind of the biggest population that is on social media. And as it continues to grow, it kind of goes back to the comparisons and, people posting their perfect lives, but then you comparing it to your reality. And that can be extremely debilitating, just for you thinking that you're not keeping up with everyone else and you're not doing a good job. Um, and those are all kind of messages that you're getting constantly from the world around you, and then you internalize them. And so I think people who typically have anxiety and depression, they have this internal dialogue of not being being less than, or not being good enough, or not being worthy, and that all comes from the messages they're getting from society around them. But on the flip side of that, I do think that in within social media and particularly at college campuses, there is like this connection to other people that you can't find anywhere else. And so I think that is a very positive piece to it, that even beyond college, like anytime you see someone wearing your alma mater, you like automatically feel connected to them. And so there is that sense of belonging that a huge part of human nature is to feel like you belong.
Many health professionals say that even though mental health can be a dark hole that is easy to fall into, there are still ways for people to improve their mental health. It can be as simple as going to a couple sessions of free therapy through the CAPS program at any college. Even getting outside and exercising, or spending time with friends, or finding a new way to express yourself through art and other avenues can greatly improve someone's mental health. Although there is no real cure for people who have problems with mental health, breaking the stigma and spreading awareness that these issues are prevalent in our society is the first step to improving the idea of mental health disorders.